Kodi and Riley, you were part of a group which attacked and killed 2 boys last January. The boys were called Mason and Max. They were your age, Kodi, and a bit younger than you, Riley. They had done nothing wrong. They didn't attack your house, Kodi. They had nothing to do with it. You've heard how much pain you've caused to their mums, their sisters, their families. When their boys were stabbed and died, it was such a shock for everyone, so terrible and so very, very unfair. No one can turn the clock back. No one can go back to how it was before. Mason and Max's families must go on without them in a different way now. Your lives will change too. As Mason's sister said, there are no winners here. There are rules which I must follow when I sentence you for these murders. The first rule is this: the only sentence I can give you is one which will affect you for your whole life. It's called detention at His Majesty's pleasure. What it means is that if you are released in future, you will always be supervised. You can be returned to prison if you do anything wrong again. Whether you will ever be released depends on how well you do whilst you're inside. I've thought about all of these things and everything that people have written about you. This is your sentence. You will be detained at His Majesty's pleasure. Your minimum term is 23 years, 47 days. Kodi, I want to add this. I should have said, but didn't, that you've said how sorry you are, and I believe you too. BDJ is fortunate to have a supporting and loving mother at home. The aggravating factors that I've identified apply equally to BDJ as to all of them. He was a wholly secondary party, albeit taking and chasing with a long knife. He didn't actually stab either boy. In my view, the mitigating features in his case slightly outweigh the aggravating ones. The minimum term in his case is 18 years and 44 days, being 19 years less the 321 days he has spent in detention on remand. Riley. The starting point in Schedule 21 for Riley, 17 at the time, is 27 years. In his case, even more than the others, his chronological age belies his much lower developmental and emotional age for the purposes of assessing the true level of his maturity and culpability for these offences. The aggravating factors apply. However, although Riley was in a group where others were carrying large knives, Riley's weapon was a bat. Although it looked on the CCTV as if he swung the bat at Mason, Mason had no blunt force injury. Max had a nasty bruise to his shoulder, which I'm sure was caused by Riley's bat, but that was not at all a fatal injury. The fact that Riley carried no knife and that he inflicted no fatal injury lends considerable weight to a lack of intention to kill. In my view, the mitigating features, including a marked lack of maturity, outweigh the aggravating ones. I set the minimum term, in his case, at 23 years and 47 days, being 24 years less 318 days spent on remand. I have concluded that the just and proportionate reduction for BJM's plea to Max's murder is for BJM's plea to Mason's murder is somewhere between 12 and 18 months. Taking this into account, along with the other mitigating features, I set the minimum term in BJM's case as 15 years, 229 days, being 16 and a half years less 318 days spent on remand. Before I finish, I want to say this. A fair trial depends on defendants being well represented, whoever they are and whatever they've done. Defending at a murder trial is always complex and challenging. Defending children at a murder trial is so much more so. The defendants in this case have all been particularly vulnerable by reason of their personal circumstances. It has been an especially demanding piece of work for the solicitors representing these young defendants, where the public outcry has been great and the distress of Mason and Max's families so understandably acute. Reeds and Allen Hall are the 2 firms who between them supplied the 4 skilled individuals who've represented the defendants here. I want to commend them for their hard and difficult work and to say how grateful the court is to them for doing so well the job of defending that has to be done. I would also like to commend the valuable work of the intermediary who was here for the whole trial and sentence and who assisted the youngest defendant.